Hello, is that Aaron? Aaron Terence Hughes. Hi, my name's Dan. I'm from the Mr. Smelly 1977 Fragrance channel. You've heard of me. Oh, that's great. Now, I've heard a lot of good things about your perfumes, and I was hoping, we need a follow-up to Gravitas Pour Homme, and maybe we were thinking you could be the perfumer for it. Yeah, you might be interested. Oh, great. What kind of thing am I looking for? Well, I'm a real big fan of Creed fragrances, actually. Aventus, Green Irish Tweed. Maybe my favourite is Bois de Portugal. So maybe something along those lines? Hello? Hello? Hello everyone, welcome back to all of you in the Smelly Army. So today we're going to be having a look at 3 fragrances that I've picked up from the House of Dua that I'm really excited to share with you. Before we do that, I should just mention, talking about Gravitas Pour Homme, if you've ordered the fragrance, you should have received a survey now on Kickstarter, and we need you to answer that survey to tell us your address details and stuff like that. There are still a few people who haven't, so please check into Kickstarter if you ordered the fragrance. We need all those details. We're going to be shipping hopefully quite soon. Now, into the video subject for today, Dua fragrances. I've got 3 new ones from them. They were sent to me free of charge for review, and I pretty much give you a video every month on Dua. I pick out 2 or 3 fragrances, which I'm really happy to share with my viewers. So this month we're going to kick off with an original creation from Dua, and this is Intellect Attar. So Intellect Attar. What does this word Attar mean? And Attar is a very strong oil-based fragrance. Usually I think it has no alcohol. It is literally all perfume oil or something like that. And you just dab it on your skin. It's a Middle Eastern kind of phenomenon. And these are very, very popular over there and with many other perfumistas around the world. So they're very, very strong. This one is described as a sprayable attar, a new concept here from Dua Fragrances. So a sprayable attar, I think there has to be some alcohol in here, but apparently I heard one person say that they think it's concentrated around the 70% fragrance oil mark. I don't know if that's actually true, but it's certainly got an extremely high concentration of perfume oil, which should give us tremendous longevity beyond anything we've experienced, even from Dua Fragrances, a house known for their extremely long-lasting fragrances. So the House of Dua, of course, famous or maybe infamous for some people amongst the fragrance community for making clones or inspired expressions of well-known, mainly niche fragrances, and they make versions that smell extremely close to the originals and often last a little bit longer and are more highly concentrated. So very popular amongst some sections of the fragrance consuming world. This one that we've got today is Intellect Attar, and when I first heard the name I thought, well, it's probably going to have a lot of oud kind of stuff in there. It's going to be a Middle Eastern type of smell, but it's not particularly. So let me tell you the notes and the price. Now the price for this one is quite expensive, $80 for a 30ml bottle. Of course you have to bear in mind it's exceedingly highly concentrated. Attars are usually expensive per mil. That translates to about £61 if you're in the UK. So an original fragrance described as a chypre scent. The notes, quite a long listing, so get ready. Grapefruit, bergamot, lavender, sandalwood, suede, cardamom, ginger, violet leaf, gaiac wood, tobacco leaves, roasted tonka beans, amber, vanilla, vetiver, oak moss and brandy. So a really enticing and interesting note list there for the fragrance, and a very, very hard one to pin down and describe in a very simple and succinct way, but I'm going to try. So I've got some somewhere here on a paper strip, I hope. Here it is, yeah, Intellect Attar. Okay, well, as you would hope, it definitely delivers in performance. Extremely strong, and really, even from this paper strip, I'm getting a bit of it when I go out of the room and walk back in, which is a pretty big sign that it's a strong one. Longevity on my skin has been very, very long indeed. It's actually quite hard to get rid of this one, so be careful. The company even recommend that you should steer away from spraying on clothes because it could stain them because of the very high concentration of oil in there. So watch out with that. You want to spray this on skin, and I think they also say you should rub it a little bit to activate the molecules, contrary to what a lot of people say generally about perfume. More importantly though than all that, how does this thing smell? Well, I've written down some words to try and summarize what I get from this. It's certainly a very rich fragrance. Stephen from Red Essence has done a review and he described it as powdery. I do get a bit of a powdery element. It is sweet. It's also a fruity fragrance and it's rather creamy. Notes that come through strongly is definitely a boozy accord and a really, to me, a very noticeable tobacco leaf accord, a really beautiful fresh tobacco leaf accord, which I really enjoy. There's also this kind of suede-y, smooth leather kind of feel in here, and to me, which I don't think Stephen mentioned in his review, Stephen from Red Essence, a slight old school vibe, maybe even some aldehydes, and I think that, I know Masham Raza, the man behind Dua Fragrances, does like his old school gems, so it does have a bit of that old school Chypre vibe, but there's this kind of modern niche, sweet, creamy fruitiness going on. It reminds me a little bit, certainly in its sort of opulence and its regal kind of feel, to some of the fragrances from Roger Parfums, maybe things like Chypre Extraordinaire, which Dua has a version of it. There's hints of that kind of thing in there, with this kind of bitter, Chypre, mossy green undertone that is there in this fragrance. But this one, much more fruity and bright than that, and there's also definitely a boozy sweetness in here, which is extremely enticing. The other note that I get quite a bit of is a very nice, smooth sandalwood accord, which is extremely pleasing and melds very well with the leatheriness and blends in with the sweetness. So it's fruity, boozy, leathery with a little bit of an old school vibe, and it's very difficult to sort of compare it very directly to any other fragrances. There is a slight hint perhaps of a very well-known tobacco-based fragrance, Naxos by Xerjoff, but we're not talking about any great huge similarity, just a sort of 30% or whatever that where they cross over maybe. So if you like Naxos by Xerjoff, could be worth checking this out. If you like some of the old school smelling Roger Parfums, I think there's an element of that in this one. Some people have described it as semi-gourmandish. There is this sweet fruitiness as well, and they all blend for this real in-your-face kind of wow factor fragrance, Intellect Attar. Absolutely stunning and really a surprising fragrance. You won't quite have smelled anything like this before. I thought it was just going to be maybe a very typical Middle Eastern oud smell, but it's nothing like that at all. So definitely well worth checking out for those. I think probably the people who are really into Dua are the ones that are going to gravitate towards this one. It might not be the best place to start with the brand, but if you've tried out any of their other originals, or maybe if you've loved some of their inspired expressions and you want to step into the world of their original stuff, this could be one of the absolute standout stunners from the brand. I also really like Flagship, a much more simple, fresh, citrus aromatic creation that's one of their other originals. So really interesting, powerful stuff. I hope that I'll be coming back to this one and maybe featuring it in some other videos. Will it make some top this or top that lists? Let's find out. Oh, by the way, before we move on, if you are interested, please sign up to the Smelly Army Private Members Club over on Patreon. There's a link in the description to do that. $2 a month is all it costs, and you get an extra video from me every single week. There's loads of videos already in there, so you can watch all of the back catalogue. The most recent one that, as I speak now, that I recorded was on the subject of what's going on in Fragcom. How has it changed since I started my channel? Recently there was one on my top 5 niche fragrances. All kinds of great stuff in there. Hope to see you in there. Moving on to the next fragrance then. Pretty contrasting to the one that we just talked about. I found out that Dua apparently, I was told was a very good version of Italian Cypress from Tom Ford, which I've recently been talking about on my channel. Recently acquired this one, a discontinued gem from the house of Tom Ford, and somebody said, you know what, I wear the Dua version, Italian Decorum, and it's really good, and it saves me having to use up my treasured small amount of my original Tom Ford Italian Cypress bottle that I've got. So I decided I had to pick up that one because I love Italian Cypress from Tom Ford. So the name of Dua's rendition is Italian Decorum. So similar kind of name, like it. This one less expensive than the previous one. We are looking at $55 on Dua's website, which translates to about 42 of our British pounds. Notes on the Dua version then are apparently citrus, and they've broken down what the citruses are: mandarin and bergamot, a couple of different types of bergamot. There's galbanum, basil, mint, Iceland moss, I don't know what that means, patchouli, woody notes, labdanum and cypress. So we can talk about these fragrances together a little bit. So the original Tom Ford Italian Cypress is a really classy, old school, kind of gentlemanly retro fragrance. Many people compare it to Polo Green from Ralph Lauren. It's sort of like a more refined version of that. It's defined as a woody aromatic. You could say it has slight fougere or chypre leanings. It's woody, it's a little bit spicy, there's a certain freshness, and it's definitely definitely got a sort of mossy, masculine, old school feel. Very, very smooth and very, very classy stuff indeed. So if you like your retro scents, you're going to love this one. The key question then is, how close does Italian Decorum get to it? I've compared them quite a bit. I've got one on each paper strip here as well today. This is Italian Cypress from Tom Ford. That is beautiful. It definitely smells like maybe you've bought an old 70s or 80s formula of a fragrance that you can't get anymore on eBay. The fragrance only came out in 2008, I think, but it certainly smelled like it was from the 80s or the 70s in a good way. And if we compare to Italian Decorum, very, very similar indeed once they've had a little bit of time on paper. When you first spray them, I think you find a little bit more vibrancy and a natural feel about the original Tom Ford fragrance that I don't quite get in the opening on the Doers. That's quite often the case, that when you compare their inspired expressions to the originals, it's in the opening that there may be more differences. As time goes on and you wear it on skin, you're really hard pressed, I've found, to tell these two apart. Very, very good performance and longevity on Italian Decorum, which I also get with Italian Cypress. I'm not going to pretend I've timed it and I can tell you which one's stronger, but I think if you liked the good performance on Italian Cypress, or if you've never tried it, you want to get a clone and you hope it performs well, Italian Decorum will not let you down. Very, very smooth, masculine, woody fragrance, a little bit of greenness and bitterness, a really classy, gentrified kind of feel about this fragrance. And because, of course, it's very hard to track this one down now, I think they did reissue it. I'm not sure if you can still get that, but that was very highly priced, hundreds and hundreds of pounds. The Doer version, you get, okay, only 30 mils, but you're only outlaying about £42, $55, and it gives you a chance to experience, or almost experience, a really treasured classic gem within fragrance, the world of fragrance enthusiasts. So very, very close indeed. Not identical, and they're never identical. Even Doer don't claim that they are, but a really good rendition, and you can't really complain about them reissuing things that are discontinued. So I think, again, morally, not everyone likes clones, I know, but when it's a discontinued fragrance, I think there's a very strong case for saying these guys do a great service for fragrance fans. So loving Italian Decorum, and if you can't get hold of the real Tom Ford fragrance, you should consider that one, absolutely. Last but not least, it's a little bit more of a traditional thing that Doer are known for, and that's a copy of a Creed fragrance. Himalaya from Creed has leapt up my list of favourite Creed fragrances in the couple of months since I got hold of it. And Doer have a version which is called Everest. They do a lot of they do most of the Creed fragrances. What they're known for with the Creeds, of course, first of all, Creed fragrances extremely expensive, hundreds and hundreds of pounds even for a 50ml bottle or 100ml bottle. 100ml bottles certainly over £200 retail price for your Creeds. This one, the Everest, I think it's the cheapest one we're talking about from Doer today, $50 for your 30ml. That's about £38. So a really lovely fragrance from Creed, the original, a fresh, masculine, again slightly gentlemanly, and almost kind of metallic, gleaming silver feel about this one. There's definitely a metallic accord in a good way, which I kind of guess is represented there by the silvery bottle, supposed to capture the feel of Himalayan mountain air. And it kind of gives you that really fresh, almost slightly barbershopish vibe, citrusy, woody, and with this hard to pinpoint sort of metallic accord. Reminds me a little bit in some ways of Chanel's Platinum Egoist. I think they share this dihydromercenol accord, which is also in Green Irish Tweed from Creed, and there's an element of similarity between this one and Green Irish Tweed from Creed, but it's got a uniqueness all of its own. Everest, if anything of the two, this is the one that's closest to the original, even in the opening. Again, if you really dig in, you can maybe tell something a little bit brighter and more vibrant in the original Creed fragrance, but the Everest, very quickly, it becomes exceedingly difficult to tell which one you're wearing or remember whether you've sprayed the real thing or Everest from Doer. Performance-wise, outstanding. Himalaya for me, decent in performance, good but not very, very good. The Everest takes it up a notch because it will be concentrated, probably more like 30% compared to sort of 15% here. So, probably double the concentration of oil, more longevity, really kind of strong in the air. I was wearing it on a jumper the other day, and a woolen jumper really holds on to smells. And this was, I didn't need to apply a fragrance when I pulled it on the next day because this was still pumping out. So Everest, if you're looking for a really classy Creed fragrance that not everyone else is wearing, Of course, Dua do some pretty good versions, I think, of Aventus. They do different batches, and now they do hybrids of mixing that with other things. All very interesting. But if you want to go for like what Dua is known for, copying fragrances such as Creed Himalaya in this case, and making them 90-something% similar, and maybe just a little bit stronger and more noticeable for a lower price. I think they do a great job. So definitely I would check out that one if you are a fan of Himalaya. I'm pleased to have the original as well because I like owning that bottle, but if I didn't have it, I'd be pretty happy smell-wise just to go with Everest. So guys, I will link Dua in the description of the video. They sent the fragrances for free, so you know, I will be honest when I review them. I pick out ones I think I'm likely to like, and I nearly always do. I'll point out the negatives, of course, just for the sake of balance. So they're not very cheap. If you want a clone, many times you can buy an Armaf fragrance or a really inexpensive one for a lot lower price. You may notice they don't smell quite as close, but yeah, considering it's not the real Creed fragrance or whatever, these are not cheap. The packaging is, I think, quite nice, but basic compared to a niche fragrance or even compared to many designers. This is the box, and also the smell will not quite be identical. Even Dua do not claim they're 100% the same. There will be some ingredients that they can't figure out exactly what they are, or they can't get them. So if you want the real thing, you have to go and buy it. But if you're happy to smell extremely close to the original fragrances, or if you want to try one of Dua's own creations, I think they're a great brand to check out. Love the way they perform really well, and I'm not surprised they have quite a following in the fragrance community. So let me know in the comments below what you thought about all of that. Have you tried any of these? What do you think about Dua fragrances? Please let me know. I would love to discuss it with you. Thanks ever so much for watching. Remember, whatever you're doing in life, let's project. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye. Smelly.